Chapter 25, Power Shift. The silence of the penthouse was a physical assault. For years, I had craved this quiet. I had designed this space to be a vacuum, a place where the noise of the world couldn't reach me. But now, without the sound of Maya's voice, without the faint scent of jasmine drifting from the guest wing, the silence felt like a predatory thing, waiting to swallow me whole. I stood in the center of the living room, still wearing the suit from yesterday. My tie was long gone, my shirt unbuttoned, my hair a mess. I looked at the Vigil of Justice statue. I wanted to smash it. I wanted to hurl it through the floor-to-ceiling glass and watch it fall 80 stories into the street. She was gone. She had taken her father, her pride, and my heart, and she had walked out into the rain. And the worst part, the part that made me want to howl at the glowing skyline, was that she had done it to save me. I looked at the small velvet box on the coffee table. The diamond was mocking me. The power had shifted. For 34 years, I had been the one who dictated terms. I was the one who decided when a relationship ended, when a contract was voided, when a person was no longer useful. But Maya had taken that power and shattered it. She had made herself the one in control by proving she didn't need anything I had to offer. My phone buzzed on the table. It was Marcus. "Sir, the acquisition of the St. Jude Clinic building is complicated." "I don't pay you for complications, Marcus. I pay you for results. Who is the holdout?" "It's not a who, sir. It's a trust. The sterling trust. It turns out that when Maya's father was at his peak, he bought the land the clinic sits on as a gift for the medical community. Maya is the sole executor. To buy that building, you need her signature." I let out a short, dry laugh that sounded more like a bark. Of course. Even when I tried to use my money to build a cage, she had already built the walls. "Fine," I said, my voice turning into a low, lethal vibration. "If I can't buy the building, I'll buy the board. Get the car ready. I'm going to the clinic." "Sir, the press is still thick out there. If you go now." "I don't give a damn about the press. Let them see the man who lost his soul trying to find it." Maya POV. The scent. Jude Clinic was a world away from the Blackwood Medical Pavilion. There were no marble floors here, no high-speed digital biometric locks. The walls were a soft, peeling cream, and the air smelled of floor wax and cheap tea. But the nurses were kind, the doctors were present, and my father was resting in a room that didn't feel like a high-security vault. I sat by his bed, holding his hand. I had spent the night in a plastic chair, but for the first time in weeks, I had slept. "He's doing well, Maya." I looked up. Leo Mercer was standing in the doorway, a clipboard in his hand. He looked tired, his hair mussed, but his eyes were warm. He walked into the room and checked the monitors. The transport was smooth. His vitals are holding. We'll start the new therapy in the morning. Leo looked at me, his gaze softening. "I saw the news. I saw what you did at the tower." "I did what I had to do," I said, my voice raspy. "You were fearless. You protected him even after after everything." Leo sat on the edge of the second bed in the room. "But you look like you're waiting for the ceiling to fall. You're free, Maya. He can't touch you here." "I'm not sure Alexander knows how to let someone go, Leo." "Then he'll have to learn. This isn't his world. This is a place of healing, not acquisitions." Leo reached out and took my hand. It was a friendly gesture, a comfort I had known for years. But as his fingers brushed mine, I didn't feel the electric jolt I felt with Alexander. I didn't feel the fire. I felt nothing. Just a dull, echoing ache for a man who was probably currently trying to buy the very air I was breathing. "Maya," Leo said, his voice dropping. "I meant what I said in the hospital. I'm here. for whatever you need. If you want to move the research here, if you want to leave the Blackwood shadow forever." The door to the room didn't just open. It was shoved aside with a violence that made the medical monitors chirp in alarm. Alexander was there. He didn't look like the billionaire CEO. He looked like a man who had been through a war. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes were dark with a terrifying intensity, and he was radiating a power so raw and unchecked that the nurse in the hallway gasped and stepped back. He looked at Leo's hand on mine, and for a second I thought the room was going to explode. "Out!" Alexander said. It wasn't a shout. It was a command that seemed to vibrate in the very floorboards. Leo stood up, his posture stiffening. "Mr. Blackwood, you can't just barge in here." "I am not going to say it twice, doctor." Alexander stepped into the room, his height making the small space feel claustrophobic. "I have just purchased the outstanding debt for this clinic's research wing. I am technically your primary benefactor as of 5 minutes ago. Now, take your clipboard and your support and leave my fiancé and me alone." "I am not your fiancé," I shouted, standing up. "I gave the ring back, Alexander, and you don't own this place." "I own the ground it stands on, Maya." He roared, turning on me. His face was flushed, his breathing heavy. "I will buy the sun if it means you have to look at me when it rises." Leo looked at me, then back at Alexander. He saw the fire between us, the toxic, beautiful, undeniable connection that made the rest of the world look like a gray sketch. He saw that he was a spectator in a war he couldn't win. "I'll be at the nurse's station," Leo said quietly. He looked at me one last time, a look of pity and warning, and walked out. The door clicked shut. Silence descended, heavy and hot. Alexander stood in the center of the room, his shoulders heaving. He looked at me, and I saw the shift. The power was there, but it was a desperate, flailing thing. He was trying to use his money to hold onto a ghost. "You're pathetic," I whispered. Alexander flinched as if I'd slapped him. "I'm trying to protect you." "No, you're trying to own me. Again. You saw me walk away, and instead of asking why, you went and bought a building. You think a mortgage is a replacement for a conversation." I walked toward him, my finger pointing at his chest. "Look at you, Alexander. You're the most powerful man in New York, and you're standing in a clinic room, acting like a child who lost his favorite toy." "You are not a toy." He grabbed my wrist, pulling me toward him. "You are everything. I can't breathe in that penthouse without you. I can't think. I sat in that boardroom today, and all I could see was your face on that fountain, defending me while I was busy letting my mother ruin us. Then stop being the man your mother raised." I shoved him back. "You want me, then earn me. Don't buy me. Don't secure me. Don't put me in a medical suite with a gold-plated heart monitor." I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a whisper. "The power has shifted, Alexander. You have the money, you have the towers, you have the name, but I have the one thing you actually need. And I'm not giving it back until you can stand in this room and not try to buy it." Alexander POV. I felt like I was being stripped bare. Every word she said was a truth I had been trying to hide from myself behind a wall of billions. I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't wearing the silk or the diamonds. She was wearing a faded sweater and jeans, her hair messy, her face pale. And she had never looked more powerful. I sat down on the plastic chair she had occupied all night. The billionaire was gone. The titan was gone. I felt small. I felt like the boy I had been before my father died, the one who just wanted someone to stay. "I don't know how to earn you," I whispered, my head in my hands. "I don't have any other tools, Maya. I was raised to believe that everything, love, loyalty, life, had a price. If I don't use my power, I'm nothing." "You're a man, Alexander. That should be enough." She walked over and knelt in front of me, her hands resting on my knees. It was the same position I had been in 2 nights ago, but the roles were reversed. She was the one offering the sanctuary now. "The night group is still in, isn't it?" she asked. "Yes." "Your statement saved the merger. They're calling it a visionary partnership. And your mother's. I've moved to have her removed from the board. It will be a legal battle that lasts for years, but I don't care. I told her she's dead to me." Maya nodded. "Good, then you've started." "It started what?" "Being a man who doesn't need a cage." She reached up and touched my face. Her fingers were cool, soothing the fire in my skin. "Alexander, I love you. I wouldn't have stood on that fountain if I didn't. But I won't be your locked-in girl. I won't be the secret you keep to feel human." "I want the world to know," I rasped. "I want to marry you, in the biggest church in the city, with every camera in the world watching." "No," she said, a small smile touching her lips. "I don't want a church, and I don't want cameras. I want to finish the Horizon project. I want to see my father wake up. And I want to see if we can have a Tuesday night where we just eat pizza and don't talk about stock options." I looked at her, and for the first time in my life, I felt a spark of something that wasn't ambition. It was peace. It was the realization that the room I had been trying to own was actually a prison. "Pizza," I repeated, the word feeling foreign. "I haven't had pizza since I was 12. "Then we have a lot of work to do." She stood up and held out her hand. Not to lead me to a boardroom and not to pull me into a bed, just to hold. I took it. Her grip was firm, a promise of a future I hadn't even dared to imagine. "The press is still downstairs," I said. "If we walk out together, they'll never stop." "Then let's give them something else to talk about." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the ring. She hadn't left it at the penthouse. She had kept it. "I'm not putting this back on because of a contract, Alexander, and I'm not putting it on because you bought the clinic." She handed it to me. "Ask me again, here, in this room that smells like floor wax." I looked at the ring, then at her. My heart was thudding, a slow, heavy rhythm of hope. I realized then that the power shift wasn't about who was in control. It was about the fact that we had finally stopped fighting for control at all. I took her hand. I didn't kneel. The plastic chair was in the way, but I leaned in until our foreheads were touching. "Maya Sterling," I whispered. "Will you stay with me? Not because you have to, not because of your father, but because you want to be the woman who owns the man who owns the room." "Yes," she breathed, "on one condition." "What?" "You sell the clinic building back to the trust. Tonight." I laughed, a real deep sound that made the medical monitors jump again. "Deal." I slid the ring back onto her finger. It looked different now. It didn't look like a shackle, it looked like a beacon. Maya POV. We walked out of the clinic 20 minutes later. The press was there, a wall of cameras and shouting voices. Alexander's security team moved to form a perimeter, but Alexander held up a hand, stopping them. He didn't hide me. He didn't usher me into the car. He stopped on the front steps, his arm wrapped around my waist, his head held high. "Mr. Blackwood, is the engagement still on?" "Miss Sterling, are you returning to the penthouse?" "What's the future of Blackwood Industries?" Alexander looked at the cameras, and for the first time I saw him truly smile in public. It wasn't the shark smirk. It was the smile of a man who had just won the only deal that mattered. "The future of Blackwood Industries is exactly where it's always been," he said, his voice ringing out over the crowd. "In the hands of the most brilliant woman I've ever met. As for our personal life, we're going to get some pizza. Any further questions can be directed to Marcus. He led me to the Bentley. He opened the door for me himself, ignoring the flashes. As we pulled away, I looked back at the clinic. My father was safe. My legacy was protected. And the man beside me was finally, truly mine. The power had shifted. But it hadn't shifted to me or back to him. It had shifted to us. Alexander POV. The ride back to the city was quiet. I sat in the back of the car with Maya, her head resting on my shoulder. I looked at the ring on her finger, then at the city skyline. The Blackwood Tower was visible in the distance, a monument to the man I used to be. Alexander, Maya whispered. Yes. The night agreement. You said there was a woman, Sarah. I felt a ghost of the old tension return, but I didn't pull away. I had promised her the mess. Yes, Sarah Jenkins. She was brilliant. My mother used her to secure the merger. Then she paid her off to disappear when she became inconvenient. What happened to her? She's in London. She runs a nonprofit for women in tech. I've been anonymously funding it for 5 years. I looked at Maya, my heart aching with the confession. I couldn't save her then, Maya. I wasn't strong enough to stand up to my mother, but I'm strong enough now. Maya reached up and kissed my jaw. I know you are. We reached the tower, but we didn't go to the penthouse. We went to a small, hole-in-the-wall pizzeria in the village that Russo had recommended. We sat at a greasy wooden table, surrounded by students and tourists who had no idea that the man sitting next to them was worth billions. Alexander Blackwood ate a slice of pepperoni pizza. He got sauce on his white shirt. He laughed when I pointed it out. He was human. The power shift was complete. The billionaire boss was gone, and in his place was the man I loved. But as we walked back to the car, a black sedan pulled up across the street. The window rolled down just an inch. I saw the flash of silver hair. Eleanor, she wasn't done. The vote of no confidence might have failed, but she was a Blackwood. And a Blackwood never let a liability walk away. I felt Alexander's grip on my hand tighten. He had seen her too. She's not going to stop, is she? I whispered. No, Alexander said, his voice returning to that lethal, protective rasp. But neither am I, and this time, she's not fighting a steward. She's fighting a husband. He looked at me, his eyes burning with a fire that would never go out. Let's go home, Maya. We have a world to build. Maya POV. We returned to the penthouse. It looked different now. It didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a base of operations. We spent the night in the library, not talking about the board or the press, but looking at the plans for the Horizon launch. We worked together, side by side, our minds moving in a perfect, synchronized dance. The fire of Act II had become a steady, guiding light. But as the clock struck midnight, Alexander's private line rang. He looked at the caller ID. His face went pale. Who is it? I asked. The London authorities, he said, his voice a hollow rasp. Alistair Knight has been arrested for the same fraud my mother committed in 2012. The room went cold. The power had shifted, but the foundation was still made of glass. And as Alexander answered the phone, I realized that the fallout wasn't over. It was just entering a new international phase. We were locked in together, and the world was about to see exactly what happens when you try to break a Blackwood and a Sterling. Alexander POV. Knight is down, I told Maya, hanging up the phone. My mother sold him out to save herself. She gave them the 2012 files in exchange for immunity. She's destroying the merger to destroy us, Maya realized. She's trying. I stood up and walked to the Vigil of Justice statue. I picked it up and handed it to her. You said you didn't want the room, Maya. But you're the only one who can save it now. How? The night agreement was based on your father's early research. If you can prove that the research was stolen, not shared, you can invalidate the fraud. You can save the merger. And you can put my mother in the one place she can't touch us. A prison. A prison. I looked at her, the woman I loved, the woman who had shifted the power in my world. Are you ready for Act I, Maya? Because it's going to be fallout like this city has never seen. I'm ready, she said, her eyes flashing with a lethal, beautiful fire. We stood together at the window, looking out at the city. The lights were burning bright, a sea of diamonds and shadows. We were the fire. And the world was about to burn. Next chapter, chapter 26, he protects her publicly,